I think we have the world's leading believable humans in believable simulations, all underpinned by AI technology. And really, I don't think anybody else is quite doing it the way we are today. And I feel, very positive about where our technology is going and where it'll be in the next year or two.
Hello, welcome to the show, Scalable Thinking. This is your host, Edgar Sierra. And today we have Ashwin Gobindram, the CEO of Kinemeric. Ashwin, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Edgar. Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm very happy that you accepted our invitation to be here in the podcast. Ashwin, why don't you start by telling us what Kinemeric does and how it helps its clients?
Sure. So Kinemeric is a tech firm that lives at the intersection of spatial computing, artificial intelligence, and intelligent design. And really what we focus on today is using those technologies to create meaningful immersive simulations, mostly for training and learning applications for our clients, which are a wide array of different kinds of companies, from large luxury conglomerates to mid-sized construction companies.
I think the AI and virtual things are really something that are going to be used in the future much more than what we are doing right now. It has a enormous potential.
Yeah, I would say we're about 10 years into this cycle. And really, it's a tricky technology. So it's taking time to mature. But the core value propositions, as you mentioned, I would say, are on two sides of the spectrum: being teleported to anywhere, both, imaginary or real in the world that's possible, or bringing anything to you in the world virtually, which, is tremendously powerful, especially like in a video conferencing kind of situation where you could actually have a spatial meeting with somebody who's on a different continent, and they feel like they're in the same room as you. It's really quite a magical experience out here.
Actually, what would you say is the biggest accomplishment of Kinemeric?
Sure. Well, so Kinemeric, the organization, we started it about a year ago. So I would say, our biggest accomplishments are still kind of quiet. But what I could share at this point is that I think we have the world's leading believable humans in believable simulations, all underpinned by AI technology. And really, I don't think anybody else is quite doing it the way we are today. And I feel, very positive about where our technology is going and where it'll be in the next year or two.
Uh, if the time permits and if that is something that we can talk about and discuss later, we can also have a later podcast to show to the audience how it works. And I'm sure it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'd
Also,
love to tell you more and give you a
something
full-blown demo. You tell me when, Edgar, and we'd be happy to do that.
I would super enjoy that. Thank you, Ash. Why don't you describe to me your ideal client profile, the ICP?
Sure. So, I think that ideal clients can vary up to a point, but I think there's a couple of commonalities that we see in all of the clients that we truly enjoy building with and are able to build successful products with. And really, that is a number of things. They need to have, at least enough of an articulated idea of what they would like. Obviously we're the experts and we're going to realize it and fill in the details, but they need to have enough of an idea of what they're looking to achieve. Sometimes you have clients who come in and they kind of have an idea, but not really what a clear goal or, clear finish line that they're moving to. And, to us, that becomes a dangerous situation. Aside from that, clients that are cognizant of why they've hired us and trust us as experts. I think that that's super important. Sometimes you get clients who, they may hire an expert or whatever it may be, but really they're looking to have somebody validate their point of view and realize, things as they see them, as opposed to the way that would be ideal or produce the best results. We find those relationships, not to be too rewarding. So really for us, ideal clients are people who have an idea of what they want to build. They're able to trust their vendors and the people that they work with, and also be engaged in the process. That's really, really important, Edgar. All too often we see customers in really big engagements, not actually engage in the cycle. Feedback is soft. You're waiting for answers for days to weeks sometimes, and it really breaks down the momentum of a design or development cycle. So we really want to see clients that are engaged, kind of participating in a positive manner in the cycle. We've been doing this for a long time now. So, we've been consulting or in the agency business for, I would say upwards of, 18 years now. So upfront, when we were younger and we didn't have that muscle memory, absolutely, it was very difficult, Edgar. Thinking about, how do you fire a client? How does it affect your P&L? How do you make your payroll the next month? These are all real challenges. And, you do need to make the appropriate decision sometimes to persist operations if you are in such a situation. But what I would say is that at a higher level, philosophically, if you know that these customers ultimately are not letting you produce your best work or allowing you to create the best environment for your team and allow them to build, magical things, then at some point you need to start to make those decisions because although there may be a couple of months there where you have to be crafty or creative with your cash flow and move operations around a little bit and maybe make some other hard decisions, whether it's laying off some of your team members, etc. Ultimately, your firm is going to be better off for it. Those decisions where you're just extracting the revenue and doing work you're not proud of, ultimately, sure, that'll keep the lights on and keep the water running, but it's never going to lead to that runaway success you're looking for. We find when we're doing our best work, it's because we're truly engaged and we're working with great partners and they're enabling us. And it's almost we're feeding off of each other and there's a multiplier effect. So I definitely understand there's some concerns there and younger businesses that have to be conscientious of their cash, etc. Obviously be cognizant, but understand at a higher level it's always important to find those positive energy relationships because they will take you a lot further in the long term.
From the company perspective, what would you say is your biggest issue and challenge for the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months?
For us, our biggest issue for the next 6 to 12 months is there's a number, right? We're about a year into operations at Kinemeric right now. Obviously, we've been in the business a long time and we're coming out of, being a part of a public company previously, but there are still some challenges here for us. And essentially, while there are no financial challenges, we are trying to build some very tricky technology, right? And work with things that have never been done before and do it in a way that, you know, imparts imparts magic in our users, right? And that's really important for us, right? We want everything to be tight and to create a feeling in your brain where the simulation is believable. So to us, those are some of the challenging things. Answering those internal design questions and philosophical decisions for where the company is going to go for the long term. And those are some of the challenges that I see on a day-to-day basis right now, Edgar, which, we love that, that we're solving really tricky problems and working with technologies in manners that people have never done so before. So to us, while challenging, that's what keeps us, going every day.
In the next 12 months, are you focusing on growing or are you focusing on developing the product or you are balancing out both things to ensure that you're scaling properly?
Yeah, I would definitely say the latter. We're balancing. We are scaling incrementally here and there, but for us, really, it's about getting all of the facets of our product and the initial implementations really, really right, and generating that data and learning from it to, further iterate on our product and offerings. So for us, it's about burning it a little bit on both ends, really fine tuning the product and scaling incrementally just where we need it. We're not looking to make the team super large or bring on a ton of accounts in one fell swoop. For us, we want to be calculated and move in a very concerted fashion, right?
What are you doing to grow? What are your main challenges or processes that you're using to grow?
So we're growing in a very careful way, right? We have an ongoing roster of clients that we're working with very closely to implement our solution at their organizations today. And being in the business for the last 14 or 15 years, there are other organizations and companies that are interested in our solution. So we're starting to engage with the right organizations when we feel like they're right and start to scale the operations. So really, it's really building out of our network and communicating what we're working on right now. And that's how we're kind of scaling what we're doing at the moment.
And so your current product is practically all about virtual environments.
So I'll explain to you. So basically, what the Kinemeric platform does is it enables believable learning and training simulations, predominantly in the soft skills arena, if you will. So what you're able to do is quickly spin up immersive simulations that are then consumable in VR via a Quest 3 headset, or Quest 3S headset, or an HTC Vive Focus headset, etc. And really, what happens is that once an organization creates a learning or training, their trainees or team members can go into that virtual reality simulation and interact with believable humans that could fill any one of N roles. So they could be a potential colleague, they could be a potential customer, they could be a potential subordinate. And we offer frameworks for using these believable humans in a wide array of applications. One of the deployments that we did initially was a sales training scenario. So our customer has a big in-person sales effort where they actually have salespeople go to people's homes and go through their whole three-phase sales cycle. So what we created essentially is a solution where their trainees can now go into virtual reality and practice their whole sales pitch on a virtual homeowner. The virtual homeowner is randomized. They have a multitude of personalities, multitude of scenarios, and they're having a free flowing conversation. Now, these conversations in our platform, they're entirely transcribed and recorded, and we ingest those conversations into our proprietary analytics module, which is also AI based. And we provide in depth analysis for that trainee and management as to how the session went. And we provide deep insights on how their salesmanship fundamentals were, their objection handling, etc. This was a sales application deployment ultimately in this implementation, but that's kind of what our platform is capable of doing. Typically our client in the past, the way that their trainees would learn is that they would actually go out to real leads and, practice their pitch on real leads. And, obviously these are fresh salesmen, you burn leads that way. So what we're doing is we're creating something that was never possible before. We're creating a virtual scenario that allows you to practice that and not burn any real leads. And now when the trainee is getting in that truck and heading out to real sites and, real potential customers, they're primed and they're able to do significantly better than they were previously. And, I don't have the hard data in front of me right now, but anecdotally, we know that new trainees have been closing deals over the last couple of months now that the solution is in place, where previously these people were burning leads for weeks. We have people who are now closing deals within their first week out there because of this solution. This is powerful stuff, right?
What is the thing that excites you the more about the progress of AI? And what is your biggest concern about AI?
I would say that the thing that excites me the most about AI is that there's this multiplication effect for an individual. When they learn how to use the tools and they really get into the weeds and they practice through trial and error as to how do you tie these tools together, because a lot of it is new and there's new tools and new models cropping up literally every week at this point. And what's working in a workflow really well 2 weeks ago may be totally appended by something that gets released today or tomorrow. So to me, what's exciting is that this magnification effect for the people who are in the weeds, really learning these tools and tying them together, they can do things like at a 10x level on what they were able to do a year ago, especially for creatives, some kinds of engineers, they're able to produce a lot more. I think there's a lot of credence in Sam Altman's whole spiel about the first single person billion-dollar companies are being built right now. I think that's very plausible and very real and very likely to occur. So that's what excites me. There are other aspects that excite me too, but I think that excites me the most. What worries me is that, while there's great possibilities for positivity with this revolution and all of the great tools that are being afforded to us, you know, we understand that not all humans always move positively, and there are maximalists in society. And I think the opportunities for using the tools to create bigger bottom lines with perhaps morally questionable impact is very real. So that's what worries me. And everything is happening so quickly. I myself work with AI tools on a daily basis. I talk to GPT and Grok probably more than I talk to my wife. And I feel like, I don't scratch the surface. And I look at a lot of people who are maybe a little bit further away from me than with technology. And I think that they're really clueless as to what's going on. And that worries me as well. There's so much of the population that's totally unaware of how fast these tools are truly developing. For some reason or another, have total lack of curiosity to learn them. That worries me for sure.
Before we close the podcast, Ash, where can people find you online?
Sure. So with me personally, I'm findable on X. My handle is just Ashwin Gobindram. That's ASHWINGOBINDRAM. And for Kinemeric, you could find us at kinemeric.com. That's KINEMERIC.com.
Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Sounds great, Edgar. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure chatting with you.